On November 28, 2020, Houston city workers stumbled upon a naked body on the side of a service road. At first, they thought it was a mannequin, almost like a larger-than-life Barbie doll. However, as they took a closer look, they realized they were looking at a dead woman. The police would later identify her as 26-year-old Instagram influencer, Alexis Sharkey. Found only a few miles away from the house she shared with her husband, Tom Sharkey. Alexis was born on January 25, 1994. She grew up in northwestern Pennsylvania with her parents and two younger sisters. The Robineaus were a happy, supportive, and close-knit family that Alexis loved dearly. Her friends describe her as being a kind and generous soul who seemed to be addicted to learning and pursuing her goals. After she graduated from high school in 2012, she went to the University of Pittsburgh. She studied biology, nutrition, and psychology with the long-term goal of pursuing a career in medicine. After she graduated at the top of her class, Alexis decided to take a year off to travel and relax. That's when she moved to Odessa, Texas. There, she got a job at a sports bar called the Twin Peaks. She illuminated with grace and laughter and made friends easily. Like her future husband, Tom Sharkey. Tom was a regular customer who worked as a consultant in the oil field. He was very well-traveled and the two hit it off instantly, even though he was in his mid-40s and Alexis in her early 20s. They'd post all about their travels on social media. At some point, Alexis grew tired of working non-stop and decided to quit her job at Twin Peaks to become a salesperson for Monat hair care products. She gradually ramped up her Instagram and really started attracting an active following. She had a natural gift for selling and recruiting people, and she quickly moved up the ranks to become an executive director in early 2020. Her winning formula was the fact that she used her selling skills and knowledge in biology to promote Monat products and the lifestyle of its sales family. Full of adventure and her godly beauty, her feed quickly garnered interest and people started looking at Alexis as an influencer. Although she preferred to call herself a businesswoman and a mentor, it was clear that her posts influenced people to join or buy from Monat. By the summer of 2019, Tom and Alexis were already engaged and they decided to move to Colorado. They traveled all around the area and they looked really happy and in love. A few months later, they got married in December 2019 and moved once more to Houston, Texas. Yet again, Alexis was quick to make friends at a new place. She formed a loyal group of girlfriends she met through a mobile app and they all loved spending time together. They started a group chat to keep in touch, where Alexis was reportedly pretty active. This small detail would later play an important part in the investigation. Although she was newly married, Alexis rarely took Tom to her friends' gatherings. In fact, she didn't even talk much about him at all with her girlfriends. Then November 2020 came along and things sadly took a deadly turn. At the beginning of the month, Alexis went to Tulum, Mexico, with her friends. Surprisingly, Tom didn't join her. When she came back, she started making her holiday plans as Thanksgiving was right around the corner. She spoke to her mom on the phone and told her that she won't be going home for Thanksgiving but that she would certainly visit for Christmas. Her family thought it was really weird that Alexis had stopped visiting as often as she once did. In fact, it had been almost a year since they last saw her. Nevertheless, they were excited to see her in December. Little did they know that would never happen. A few days before she was murdered, on Thanksgiving morning, Alexis briefly texted with her mom. They wished each other happy Thanksgiving and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. However, instead of spending the holiday with her husband Tom, Alexis actually went over to her friend Tanya's house to celebrate with her girlfriends. She stayed there until around midnight and then a friend picked her up to party at a bar until about 3 a.m. Alexis then texted Tanya that she would come back to her place to grab her things, but since Tanya was already asleep, she didn't respond. Either way, Alexis went back to her friend's house to get her car and allegedly went home. The next day, November 27th, was Black Friday. which meant it would be a busy day for Alexis and Monet. Her colleagues started sharing their sales posts early in the morning. But Alexis was oddly silent, which was especially weird since she was the one who was always encouraging people to use social media for sales. At about 11 p.m. that same day, Tom texted one of Alexis' friend's boyfriend to ask if he had heard from Alexis. Not wasting precious time texting, John immediately called Tom. That's when Tom told him that Alexis was missing and that the two of them had gotten into a fight before she stormed out of their house barefoot and he hadn't seen her since. He claimed there had been a black car that picked her up. During their 45-minute phone call, Tom told John everything that allegedly happened before Alexis left their home. Tom would later change his story several times throughout the investigation. At some point, he told police that Alexis was wearing sweats and running shoes when she left the house. In one version, he said she left her phone behind, and in another, he said she took it with her and he used an app to track her down. He had followed her around in a black car until he eventually lost signal. The next day, her friends started texting in the group chat to make plans for their girls' night. Everyone was active except for Alexis, and that got her friends worried. When they saw that she hadn't been posting anything on social media, they were alarmed, but it wasn't until Alexis didn't show up for their movie date that they realized something was wrong. It wasn't like her to skip out on plans. They ended up calling Alexis's mother, who already knew her daughter was missing as she had been on the phone with Tom. Sadly, at the same time as her friends and family were searching for her, Houston city workers stumbled upon a naked body, dumped by the side of a service road. Only a few short miles from the home she shared with her husband Tom. Alexis was dead. 2 months after her death, in January 2021, the medical examiner would conclude she died by strangulation. Shortly after news of her death started circling around, details of her relationship with Tom came to light. One of Alexis's friends came forward saying that things weren't going well in that marriage. Alexis had allegedly told her that her marriage was failing and she was afraid for her life. According to that friend, Alexis was fearful of her husband. It soon became clear that Alexis was planning to divorce Tom. The couple had even split their bank accounts shortly before she went missing. The divorce papers were allegedly drawn up and ready to be signed as well. But that's not all. There was another man in the picture. On her trip to Tulum at the beginning of November, Alexis met a man named Sebastian. He was a Houston-based DJ and the two really hit it off. Her friends gave mixed statements as to whether Alexis and Seb hooked up or not during that trip, but they all agreed there was definitely something going on between them. In fact, it was Sebastian who picked Alexis up after the Thanksgiving dinner with her friends and took her to a bar until 3 a.m. Were they already dating or just hanging out? No one knows. After the coroner's office confirmed Alexis had been strangled, investigators began looking more into Tom and his past, trying to find clues as to whether he did it or not. In the only interview he gave to the press, Tom said that Alexis wasn't who everyone else thought she was. To others, she was happy and carefree, but with him, she was stressed and worried, and he often had to comfort and bring her back up. He also said he told her not to drive intoxicated, clearly pointing out clues as to what the fight had been about. In reality, it seemed her being so carefree is what triggered him. On September 29, 2021, police put out a warrant for Tom Sharkey's arrest. As police were outside his daughter's home, closing in on him, he shot himself point-blank in the head while his daughter and her boyfriend were about to answer the door for authorities to arrest him. Please click the subscribe button so you can keep up to date with my channel. Thanks for watching and take care.